Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we are discussing Chille Tid. Tide. It's Norwegian. I can't pronounce it. As always, straight to Chris. What's this one about?
I feel like you should put more effort in trying to pronounce it.
I think I put more effort in trying to pronounce it because I could look with an episode title like this. I could have easily just gone like, and this week's episode was called Chille Tid or Chille Tid, and just said it once and then just moved on, and that would have been. I went to more effort and pronounced it in multiple ways so that I've covered all the bases. So I think I put as much effort as it's possible to put into it, if I'm being honest.
Do you do that on all occasions? Are you like, oh, I'll have the margarita.
Yeah, all the time. Like, so next week's episode is called Cry for Help, so I'm going to be like, Cry for Help. Cry for Help. I'm just going to try like 9 different pronunciations.
Range of emotions. Let's start at the beginning.
Please.
So Steven's underwater, and they're looking for Laphis and her dude or dudette. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Laphis. Sweet. This is the build up. We have built to this. It's gonna be proper. Story arc. We're gonna get some mythology. Let's do this shit. Woo! And then they're like, Steven's tired, let's go home. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. So I'm still there. And Garnet's like, I'm going to go on my own. I'm like, oh, sweet. Garnet v the creature, cool. And then Steven's like, I'm tired. And Garnet's all like, you guys should sleep. And I'm like, that's a bit weird. They've not slept for thousands and thousands of years. But, okay, is that a thing that they're going to try? Fine. So then they have a slumber party and we go into a sitcom dream. And I'm literally like, oh, fuck's sake. Like, people know my opinion on scenes which have no real consequence. They annoy me.
They won't necessarily in this podcast, but it's worth clarifying that on our other podcast, Nothing But Static,
I think Say Uncle and Garnet's universe made it fairly clear, but carry on.
Yeah, no, I think specifically you've got, you really don't like dream and sort of imagination sequences of any kind. Like, there's a TV show that we've long debated, called Man Seeking Woman, which uses sort of like heightened sort of like version of reality in order to sort of give you hints as to how people are really feeling, and it's all really sort of like it's quite ethereal and quite sort of like just very strange, like quite what's the word I'm looking for, surreal in places, and Chris hates it. So he really doesn't like it when stuff goes. Because he I think it's fair to say, Chris, you understand.
Caused quite the messenger spat between us once, didn't it?
No, I don't think so. No, I was genuinely just like defending the show. But anyway, I think it's fair to say that while Chris appreciates that you can potentially gain character knowledge through those sort of techniques, he thinks, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, but I'm assuming you think there are better ways to do it that have more grounding in reality, therefore have more stakes. Is that fair?
Yeah, I didn't realize until we started analyzing stuff like on the podcast how much I didn't grasp it. And for those asking the obvious question, yes, I was a big fan of Scrubs because it was only ever like 5-second, sort of 10-second moments. It's when like you get dream episodes or when you get like Man v Woman, which is a lot based in reality. It's when it feels inconsequential, stuff like that. It's what I think bugs me. Like when you have a dream sequence episode or you have a what if episode, it ultimately means nothing, and that just annoys me. But fine, I mean, we can get some character analysis. But
yeah, I was going to say that's the thing is you're like, yeah, we can do character stuff and it also have some relevance to the plot and like have impact in other ways.
Yeah, because it's just it's like when you watch a flashback and a character is in mortal danger, and you're like, but. They're alive. Like it's like Lost in an episode where Jack might die because his kidney or some shit like that is like his appendix burst, and they were like he might die. But at that point they were already doing flash forwards, and he didn't die, and we knew he didn't die. And yeah, so not to detract, but then so the dream sequence starts, and I'm like, oh god. Mm-hmm. And then it goes back, and they wake up, and then there's another dream, and it's apparent that maybe. Actually, he is talking to her for real. Like, and I'm like, ooh. And then Turns out he is talking to her for real, and she's struggling.
Did you clarify it
she's
was Lapis? Because I don't think you actually ever said Lapis.
Sorry, Lapis. Lapis is real. But she's and there's dream banter in between, and we see a bit of Pearl can sleep, and for some reason her dreams are projected, and we see a bit of the Rose psyche, her feelings about Rose, which is cool. And then so once they establish that he has really seen her, and she's like, it's tough, but I want to do this for you. And then the Stephen Bombs ends with the characters in exactly the same situation they were before, but added clarity. I had mixed feelings throughout the episode. To be honest with you, I had mixed feelings at the end, and I feel shitty about that because I can completely see the merit, but I just worry, like, I mean, it's a bomb, and they hype it with the poster, and I'm just a bit like, I worry I'm gonna get shit in the comments for being a bit mixed about it. But I got to be truthful, and I was a little bit mixed about it because literally it ends with them in exactly the situation they were in before.
Well, I suppose we have a better concept of that Lapis is, at least for now, keeping Malachi at bay. You know, because she's fused with Jasper. Yeah. But for all we knew, they'd already defused, and Jasper was running about the place, potentially causing havoc or planning something.
But they hadn't explicitly said until this episode that was their worry. So I don't think they built that.
Yeah, but I suppose that's an assumed worry, isn't it? If you've got a prisoner being held in a very precarious way under the ocean like that you know, an unstable fusion. I mean, it's very clear that even from Jailbreak and the Return, that Malachite was not a stable fusion, that it could break apart at pretty much any time. You saw it sort of shifting and wobbling even then before Lapis dragged it into the ocean. So I always assumed that part of the precariousness of that particular way of keeping Jasper at bay was that it was not particularly strong as it goes. And one of the reasons that we had the episode with Jamie, the Love Letters episode, where the reason he sees Garnet at all is because she comes out of the ocean having just been searching for Malachite. You know, they have established that the gems have been looking for Malachi, and I think it's relatively clear that the reason being is that is not a great way to keep Jasper contained. It is not a reliable way to keep Jasper contained.
That's fair, and it was cool to see Malachi, and you've referred to them as the like fusion as Malachi throughout, so I knew the name, but I guess that would be people's first time hearing the name. I think
the name Malachi is uttered in the Return. Or sorry, no, Jailbreak. When they first form, I think they say that they're Malachite before Lapis drags them. Lapis's side of that fusion
cool.
drags them.
It just seemed like a real this is the name. This is the point of this. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the episode?
No, I'm with you on the whole. I think I just wanted to make a counterpoint to the idea that like they hadn't really built up to the situation with Jasper. I thought they'd actually done a pretty good job of. They've shot a few shots of them searching in the past. Like I said, Garnet coming out of the ocean in that Love Letters episode was that. But in terms of this particular episode, and a little bit of a review of this bomb, and all in all, I think that Cartoon Network threw this together. I don't think it was designed as a bomb. I think when you see the next bomb, which starts with Cry for Help Monday, so come back for that, listeners. I think, Chris, you'll appreciate that what happens when it's a bit more designed and a bit more with intent.
Yeah, and that's what I want. And I didn't, just to clarify, they absolutely set up them looking for them. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about my point was more about this worry that the fusion would break up. I didn't think that had been said, but yes, you're right. You could assume that, but
yeah, but you might have felt it was more impactful if it had been made clearer. That's fair. In terms of this particular episode, I'm with you on the mixed feelings because I really love that Steven's having these glimpses into the whatever's going on in the mind of Malachite, which is, you know, Lapis holding back Jasper in a very literal sense, but it's obviously it's not though. It's all metaphorical because it's within the dream. You know, it's all in like a mindscape that it's happening, and I think that's a really cool thing, and you've got to wonder, is that link he's got to Lapis, is that just born out of like their sort of friendship? Is it an extension of a power he already has but he's not really mastered yet? It's all a bit unclear at this point, but it's really cool to see. The dreams are all they are interesting, even if they don't tell us too much. I'm mixed on Pearl's dream particularly. That kind of bothered me a little bit, because it was like making light of what is quite a dramatic situation. You know, we've talked very fondly of how they've set up this situation with Pearl, where, you know, she clearly had strong feelings for Rose, and Greg was a wrench in the works, and to do it as a sort of for a gag, you know, have Amethyst pointing at it and laughing, and have Rose turn around and have Greg's face. It's all a bit. It's all a bit played for laughs when you know, they've done such a good job so far of making it as dramatic as that situation really would be. You know what I mean? Like, imagine having to look after the son of the person you loved and the person who stole them away from you. You know, it's a tragic and very, very brutal situation for Pearl. So the way that this episode used it wasn't for me. I get the idea and I understand the premise, and it is funny. It's just, if you're going to make jokes, please make them at the expense of some other plot, because I think that's a plot that they've done a really good job of making feel impactful. I found it quite. Some people will disagree with me, I'm sure.
Yeah, I found it quite dark and quite creepy, and therefore I didn't find it particularly funny. So I felt less that it was played for laughs, but I take your point.
I suppose if we'd have seen that dream just in general, like if Stephen, while wandering through his dream, had stumbled into Pearl's dream and then into Lapis's, then would have been better. But the way they played it, Pearl, for those who don't remember, her dream, it turns out, because she doesn't sleep because they don't physically need to. They're capable of it, but they don't need to sleep, the gems, because they are made of light and energy. But when she sleeps, the gem on her forehead projects the dream. So Amethyst is watching the dream and having a good old time, giggling at it, and I think that takes away. I think if Stephen had wandered into that dream and witnessed it that way, then I might have had a very different feeling towards it. But having it projected and Amethyst being like, look at Pearl's stupid dream, that kind of took a lot away from it, for me, at least. One of the things I did like, though, I do like Garnet backing out, boning out, because I think it seems odd in the moment, but I think she knows full well that Stephen's about to make that connection with Lapis, and that it's important. I don't think Garnet does anything by accident. So I think that's...
Yes, I agree, but I think that's part of the problem with the Garnet character. Like, they can just, if they just want her out of scene, they make people like... Because I thought exactly the same as you, but it kind of... This ability does give you the opportunity to just always be like, she knew. Like, so... Like, we've got a character that, can potentially never make a mistake? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like...
Yeah, I think someone's described it recently as like it's more about probabilities. Like she sees she sees the possible futures and the most likely futures. So she's not infallible, but she does have a great deal of insight.
But like in this moment, like you could, because it could be that she could see, or it could be a writer sat there going, even if it looks weird that Garnet's left, we can make out that it's foresight. You know?
Yeah, I suppose.
I think there's they've created a scenario where you could potentially have lazy writing, not necessarily saying that's what they have ever done.
I totally understand. So it's a weird one, this one, because I think like there are good elements to it, but on the whole, I think I'm not so sure it works. Because it's a little bit all over the place. It starts as an episode of them trying to search for us, switches to this whole slumber party thing, and then it becomes this weird dream thing, and then you're right, the episode ends, and really nothing has happened. Like, very little has changed. They still need to find this fusion under the ocean. We've confirmed that, you know, Lapis is at present, at least, you know, holding it back, or holding Jasper back for sure. But that doesn't tell us a great deal, if I'm being honest. And I don't know if we learn a huge amount about the characters even, which is a shame, because what we learn about Pearl, we already knew. We don't see any of Amethyst's dreams, and Stephen's dreams are just weird, innocent kid dreams about flying alongside dogs. Although I do love, there's a great line when he's like, "Oh, I spoke to Dogcopter, but he wasn't really interested in speaking to me," and I hurt my feelings. Like, I love that idea. I
thought the funnier one was, "Dogcopter, please don't let the tabloids be true."
Yeah.
It's like a very adult-orientated joke.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts on the episode? Because I got a quick wider question for you.
I'll take a wider question because right now nothing's occurring to me. I'm sure there's plenty to discuss. Okay. There is stuff to unpack, but maybe not. I don't know.
But fuck it. No, I'm joking. I've no, but I just think it's, and I don't want to sound negative. There were a lot of elements to enjoy. But like you say, fundamentally, it's just weird to end an episode at the given the way they promoted the bomb with the artwork and stuff like that. Maybe we're making a big deal of that, but okay. Just weird to end it on a note of literally even the characters being like, situation's not changed. Go to sleep.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, all right, fine. Even weirder if they then do a bomb that addresses it or addresses some stuff. So yeah. Here's an interesting wider question. So I saw a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Sam. Shout out to Sam. He was in a play. So see the play, and Sam's at uni doing art and illustration, a degree in art and illustration. So I've not seen him for a while. So afterwards we go, a group of us go back to his. We have some drinks, and we're chatting. And he's chatting about his art degree, and he's chatting about people like he said someone drew him, and Jess said to him, "Oh, have you seen the drawing of Chris?" And Sam goes, "Oh yeah, I love Steven Universe. I need to catch up on Steven University. I've got them all downloaded and stuff." And my mind's blown. I'm like, what? Because the problem with this podcast is I talk to Dan here, obviously, about Steven Universe, but Dan's got to be careful of spoilers, and like all our conversation takes place on here. Like, and if I see an episode and want to say something, I can't immediately say it to Dan because I have to wait till we're recording and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, no one else is into this show. So the fact that I finally knew someone that was into the show that I could just message, like when I had my Garnet theory, it would have been great to email Sam and be like, message Sam and be like, oh,
would you not
I've
be
got
concerned
this
that
theory.
you'd end up with spoilers though, like inadvertently?
Nah, he'd know not to do that. Like, don't take this away from me, Dan. Don't take my newfound Steven Universe fan away from me. No, because I'd just tell him not to spoil shit. Like, he's good. Like he didn't spoil anything on Friday night or whatever. No, it was Saturday night. Yeah. Well, are you now concerned?
A tiny bit, but only because I and this is just me being a weird control freak, but I have control over the amount of information you get here, and I'm not always getting it right, as our listeners will happily point out regularly. But at least I know what information you are and aren't getting, and what I'm leading you down, and what not leading you down, but like where I'm being careful and where I'm not. Like, this idea that you're having these conversations outside of that, I'm like, man, he might know stuff that he's not supposed to know yet. Maybe this guy accidentally dropped something. I don't know. It's fine. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you not to talk to your friend, Chris. But I'm just saying, like,
don't talk to your friend.
Don't talk to don't do it.
No, it's unlikely that I will talk to you, but it just blew my mind that someone else had heard of this show. Because usually I'm like, oh yeah, I do 3 podcasts, and this other one's about Sanimate. Like, I don't even name it, and I can't believe I hadn't thought to say to Sam, well, have you ever seen it? Given what he's into. So mainly that, I probably won't speak to him. But he did say something that I thought was interesting, and that I will... What time are we on? Yeah, I'll bring it up quickly here. So he wrote a paper on Steven Universe. Wrote a whole paper on Steven Universe and its role in gender politics.
Yes.
And he basically talked about, in his paper, he said that, he talked a lot about the positive role the show has, because, like, the way the gems are females, but they are strong females, and they don't play on the fact that they're females. Obviously, because at that point he was like, what do you know, like, about the relationships and stuff? And I was like, oh, well, we've just seen the one where, like, the dance was banned and stuff. And I said about Rose and Pearl. He's like, yeah, obviously, so the Rose and Pearl angle. And then he said, but, I had to present the negatives as well. And he said, and while they're doing all these really positive things for gender stereotypes, he said from a visual, artistic point of view, they still use a lot of pastoral colours. And they still use a lot of traditionally feminine colours. They don't have this strong female character in, more masculine blues or whatever. He said, so there is, areas to potentially work on, you could argue. And I just thought that was a really fascinating little subject. I thought I'd see what your thoughts were.
It's an interesting point. I think, though, from a design perspective, I think kids shows tend to approach things with a potentially more what is traditionally seen as a feminine. Because these days I don't really see any color scheme as feminine anymore. To be honest with you,
No.
But I totally get the argument, even if I don't necessarily directly agree. But I think a lot of kids shows use sort of lighter pastorally colours, even the ones named more boys. They try and they
Does
don't...
Adventure Time though?
Yeah, Adventure Time's
because I don't know. I don't watch.
It's a very colourful show. It's a little bit more down the middle, I suppose. In terms of the genders, it's a bit more neutral, but it is very bright, very sort of exaggerated. Like, yeah, I suppose you're right. Maybe Steven Universe does have a slightly more feminine color palette. I don't know.
And he wasn't. He had to present, so he wasn't necessarily say he had to present both arguments. So nobody, give my friend shit.
It's potentially an area I'm not qualified to comment on because from an art perspective, I don't know. When I look at Adventure Time, I strictly, like, when I actually think about it and analyze it, this does feel more pastorally than Adventure Time slightly. Adventure Time is very colourful, but it isn't. This is slightly more pastoral, and there are a lot more sort of like pinks and purples, I suppose. But I don't know if that necessarily means anything other than just a preference of the creative team.
Yeah, I think the
show has a very specific style, and if you changed it now, it would look odd.
No, of course it would, and from a like what they do with the characters and the plot lines, far out the good they do in those for things like gender stereotypes and gender politics far outweighs the colouring and the pastoral colouring and stuff. I just thought it was an area I hadn't thought of before, so I thought I'd raise it and comments below. I think it's one of those things where it's just a debate. There's no right answer, but I just found it kind of really interesting, and I think it more than anything because, like I say, even if you could argue it was a negative, it's outweighed by everything else they do. So if you just view it on the basis of a visual style, it's so defined, and obviously so is like The Simpsons and stuff. But I just think it's cool that they have that definition, and it's obviously something that is throughout most animated shows. But I bet it's a situation where when an animated show does it really well, you don't notice. You probably only notice when they do it badly. Yeah,
it's certainly something worth thinking about. I don't know if I'm qualified necessarily to comment on it. It's what I said earlier. It's like I don't have an art degree, and I'm certainly no art. I'm certainly not particularly handy with a pencil.
Well,
so,
I'd get more opinion from him about it, but I'm not allowed to speak to him anymore. So.
That's not what I said. No, I think that it's a valid point. I would agree with you though. I think on the whole that like what they do in the plot and with the characters is far more important than the color scheme they choose.
Yeah,
because you could argue artistic decision making for one, but you can't argue artistic decision making if you have a show that's like really blatantly sexist or racist or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I say, I think he felt the same. He just had to present both arguments in his paper.
It is an interesting thought though.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I can't.
It's a shame I'll never get to speak to him again.
You've got to cut all ties, and if you don't, then I murder you both. Because if I can't have you, Chris, no one can.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
it's creepy. That's what that is.
Yeah, don't know why I did that. So yeah, I don't know. As an episode, yeah, as a bomb, it's not the best. Bit. A couple of weak points, a couple of good ones.
No, it's bad.
What's that?
It's bad. I'm just saying it. Like, it's a bad bomb. Like, people can fight me on that if they want, but it's not a good bomb.
It's not good as a bomb. No, you're right. No, I think I'd. Yeah. Let me just double check what's in the next.
It
bomb.
Shouldn't have been a bomb.
No, it shouldn't have been a bomb. No. They're a lot carefuler with the bombs going forward. Because I think we've had 5 or 6 now, and the first one's obviously quite good because it leads up to. All that stuff leading up to the Garnet reveal in Jailbreak is very well done. Let me quickly double check what the next bomb contains. I know the 2 or 3 of the most recent bombs have been amazing because they've. I suppose here, I think it shows that they've just shoved them together because like the fact that these 2 bombs were basically back to back is a bit much. Like, no show can keep up that level of storytelling all the time. It's crazy to expect them to do a run of episodes like that. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
And I would argue that when people are judging this podcast, maybe keep that in mind also. Yeah, literally, because it's like I'm not going to tell you what they're called, but all the bombs have like little mini titles. So except for Stephen Bomb 1, which was just Stephen Bomb, obviously, the second Stephen Bomb was just called Stephen Bomb 2, the second one, and 3 has a title, which I won't reveal until after we've seen next week's episode.
That's better. That's the way you should do a bomb, in my opinion.
Although I will say that the bomb 4, which is further down the line, is simply titled Stephen Bomb 4, Stephen's birthday week. So that is a good bomb, though, in my opinion. I enjoyed that bomb as well.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm looking at the future ones. Oh my god. There's 2 from more recent, like from 2017. There's 2 from this year. 1 from January and 1 from May. And that disproves my theory about putting them too close to each other altogether, because they're both amazing. There you go.
I'm guessing you won't tell me what they're called.
I'll tell you what one of them is called. It's called... is that a spoiler? Out of This World.
Okay.
Don't know if that is a spoiler or not. Someone will yell at me, I'm sure.
Tells me they go to space, Dan.
Then I may have said too much. I'm kidding.
where they've already been once before. And it's perfectly reasonable to assume they will do again. But that doesn't mean that people won't yell at you on the internet, Dan.
People always do. The one that they got me at before, right? The one that really bothered, the one that really annoyed me that people got annoyed about. No, it didn't really annoy me. That's not fair to say. The one that made me feel like really...
Sounds like it really annoyed you.
I think it's just you always phrase things hyperbolically on a podcast like this because you just want to make the point like you don't hit. But like the one that most made me go really was when I revealed that the Watermelon Stevens come back, and I'm just like, really? That's a spoiler? I mean, what? The episode's called Super Watermelon Island. The episode they come back on. So at the end of the previous episode, when I go, and we'll see you next week for Super Watermelon Island, you don't think Chris is going to be like, I think the watermelons are coming back. Like, and also, when these were airing, that title was revealed long before we saw it, and there was artwork, and we knew, so it wasn't a big surprise. It's not like the episode starts as a normal episode, and then it's like, and here are the watermelons! Do you know what I mean? Like,
As someone who hated that episode, though, it is depressing. Well, not hated that episode, but hated that I found them fucking creepy.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, like, I just don't think me telling you they come back is a big spoiler or something you wouldn't figure out.
No.
Like, in the build up to it. So it's not like the general public went into that episode not knowing it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't see why I'm not able to tell you that. But it was one that made me go really more than it made me go, I'm angry at the universe or the fan base. And by fan base, I mean Steven Universe fan base. We don't have a fan base. We have listeners.
I know, I'm still refusing to call it fan art.
Yeah, listener art.
Unless I'm trying to impress someone.
Anyway.
In which case I make Jess call it fan art.
Brilliant.
Or hide behind Jess. I'm like, Jess keeps calling it fan art, but I'd never be so bold.
We have listeners, we don't have fans. That's just how it goes. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll speak to you guys on Monday for Stephen Bomb 3 blank.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, blank of blank. There you go. Given the one word of the title.
Nice.
Of. You now know the word of, Chris. Spoilers again. Oh, I'm so terrible at this.
No.
Should be shot.
Ruined it.
I've ruined it for everyone. Now I'm just waiting for your mate to text you the full title. Why don't you do a podcast with him, Chris, if you love talking to him so much?
Because he's got shit to do.
Unlike us.
He's got more stuff to do than us.
Yeah, evidently. Anywho, so that's everything for this week. I've been Dan Dillon.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you next time for the third Stephen Bomb Blank of Blank for the first episode of that called Cry for Help.
Nice. It also wouldn't be as fun as doing one with you, Dan.
I'll say that now, we finished.
I'm still recording.
I mean, I'm still recording too, but I'm going to put that at the end or something. It's going to feel like I put it there on purpose, Chris.
You can edit it in. That's fine. I don't mind.
Couldn't say it during the full podcast. Had to wait till afterwards.
I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy.